Bosch has a view that it is the little details that really matter. Because when all of these are perfect, they make for a perfect whole. When every membrane is where it has to be, the butterfly not only flies, it soars. Every single pigment plays its part, and every part has a crucial role. That's why at Bosch, it's these little details that we really care about. The tiniest, most precise measurements, the quality of the materials, the convenient solutions. It's the subtle things, the little reminders that make for a big evening. Being there when needed, no matter what. Just the right temperature for just the right perfect hygiene for your peace of mind. It is all these seemingly little details that can lead to great outcomes. That, when connected, become more than just details. Because when they fit perfectly together, the results will be perfect too. Making big occasions and everyday routines as easy as possible. For every moment and every day. How very Bosch. Bosch, invented for life.
Selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu para peserta Re-Webinar Series. Semoga selalu sehat dan dalam kabar yang baik pada kesempatan hari ini. Selamat datang di acara Re-Webinar Series edisi ke-10 tanggal 14 Januari 2021. Perkenalkan, nama saya Dwi Febrianti, mewakili tim Real Estate Investment Indonesia sebagai host pada kesempatan kali ini. Re-Webinar Series merupakan rangkaian acara konferensi Real Estate Investment Indonesia 2020 yang berlangsung melalui platform digital Reconnect dari tanggal 24 hingga 25 November yang lalu. Lewat platform Reconnect, kami memiliki fitur virtual networking yang akan berjalan selama hingga bulan Februari 2021 yang akan datang. Dan acara Real Estate Investment Indonesia edisi November ini diikuti lebih dari 300 orang peserta. Di antaranya merupakan C-level atau senior executive yang mewakili lebih dari 150 institusi, organisasi, dan perusahaan dari stakeholder real estate. Selain itu, acara ini dihadiri pula oleh para investor institusional, baik dari Indonesia maupun dari kawasan Asia Tenggara, bahkan dari kawasan lainnya secara global. Acara Re-Webinar kali ini telah hadir secara berkala untuk membahas mengenai berbagai materi terkait dengan kondisi dan perkembangan industri, serta pembahasan tentang performa subsektor di industri real estate Indonesia. Di masa pandemi sekarang ini, semakin banyak masyarakat beraktivitas di rumah dan mengurangi bepergian. Kebiasaan ini mendorong perubahan mendasar dalam apa yang dianggap orang sebagai fitur prioritas di rumah. Di hari ini kami akan membahas sebuah tema tentang bagaimana penerapan inovasi dan teknologi di dalam hunian dapat memberikan nilai tambah. Selain itu, akan dibahas juga apa saja tren yang akan berkembang di masa depan, serta bagaimana perilaku konsumen akan berubah seiring dengan waktu. Terkait hal tersebut, pada hari ini kami akan menghadirkan diskusi yang berjudul Introduction to BSH Home Appliances, Optimizing Property Value Proposition Through Technology and Innovation. Adapun para panelis yang telah hadir hari ini, yang pertama Ibu Denistan, Head of Project and Built-in Business of Asian dari BSH Home Appliance Group. Ibu Denis berasal dari rumpun Malaysia, 25 tahun berkecimpung di industri home appliance atau peralatan rumah tangga yang mencakup area penjualan, pemasaran brand, pelatihan, distribusi, dan manajemen ekspor. Serta beliau menjadi ujung tombak organisasi BSH yang baru. Filosofi profesional beliau yaitu setiap individu adalah pusat dari semua yang kita lakukan. Dan bisnis dibangun berdasarkan apa yang mereka butuhkan untuk kualitas hidup yang lebih baik. Berikutnya sebagai moderator telah hadir Ibu Lea Afiliani Aziz selaku Direktur dari PT L&B Cipta Design. Sedikit tentang beliau, Ibu Lea aktif di Asosiasi Himpunan Desain Interior Indonesia dan pernah menjadi Ketua HDII DKI pada 2012-2015 dan Ketua HDII Nasional pada 2015 hingga 2018. Selain itu, Ibu Lea juga aktif di Kadin, APSDA atau Asia Pacific Space Design Association. Ibu Lea juga aktif menjadi pembicara di berbagai kesempatan, serta aktif terlibat sebagai juri atau penilai di berbagai kompetisi interior desain, baik di dalam dan di luar negeri. Selamat datang Ibu sekalian, para panelis, Ibu Lea dan Ibu Denis. Terima kasih sudah berkenan hadir dalam diskusi hari ini. Terima kasih, selamat siang. Dan sebagai informasi bagi Bapak dan Ibu peserta webinar hari ini, diskusi dan presentasi dilakukan dalam dua bahasa, yaitu bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. Bapak Ibu dapat mengajukan pertanyaan pada box Q&A pada bagian bawah layar Zoom Anda. Silakan gunakan hashtag tanya narasumber seperti contoh yang dapat Anda lihat di bawah ini. Untuk mempersingkat waktu, saya persilakan Ibu Lea untuk dapat memulai diskusi kita pada hari ini. Waktu dan tempat dipersilakan Bu Lea.
Selamat siang semua, selamat siang Bu Dwi.
Siang,
Good
Ibu.
afternoon, everyone. This is a good opportunity that BSH and Ray is invited me to be one of the moderator. And today we are now everybody knows that because of the pandemic, karena pandemik ini kita semua perubahan hidup kita sangat mendasar. Kita tidak bisa seenaknya pergi kemana-mana, kita tidak bisa pergi ke kantor ataupun bekerja sehari-hari, bertemu teman atau hang around, tapi kita lebih sering di rumah, yaitu WFH, work from home. Jadi inilah adalah satu opportunity di mana Ray mengedepankan BSH Home Appliances, bagaimana kita membuat rumah menjadi base yang nyaman, karena kita melihat dengan adanya pandemik ini, semua orang hidup di rumah, sehingga pada umumnya rumah menjadi sebuah tempat yang harus nyaman, dan juga sebagai tempat yang mungkin kalau kita dari interior atau arsitek, itu selalu dibuat rumah itu dibikin supaya tempat itu bisa kelihatan mempunyai kelas yang berbeda. Dan inilah opportunity untuk semua para stakeholder and everyone in this webinar to take about the optimizing property value proportion through technology and innovation. I think this is the best, and I will introduce Ms. Denise Tan as a head of project and built-in business BSH Home Appliances Group to make a presentation. Hello, Dennis. Can you open the? Hi. Yes. This is a nice opportunity for all of us. It's not only for the stakeholder, investment, or designer, or interior, or architect to hear from you. What is BSH? Because everybody knows that Bosch is one of the best home appliances in this world. So I think this is a time that you give us the opportunity with a good technology in the pandemic, what we can do, not only for investment to make all the, I think the real estate to make them to can sell with your product to become the opportunity to sell to the properties to buy. Thank you, Denise. I think this is time that you can make a presentation for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Lea, for the very kind and detailed introduction. I'm very pleased to meet everyone, and it's a fantastic opportunity for all of us to meet during this Zoom webinar. Life has really changed tremendously since the end of 2019, and I'm extremely appreciative and grateful to the organizing team of this Zoom webinar. Definitely thank you very much to Ibu Lea for joining us for this session, because her professional opinion and experience is just as important during this session. And I will present to you something about BSH as a company. And before the slides actually start, I would like to say something about BSH, not so much as the company and the business that we do, but we have tried since even before the COVID-19 pandemic to really revolve our company philosophy and the company businesses around the benefit of our consumers. Everything, according to also to my both professional and personal philosophy, is that all businesses, even more today, need to run around the needs, not so much of changing trends, but the changing needs of the consumers. We spend so much time at home, and as I understand from my BSH colleagues in Jakarta, it's been an extremely long lockdown. Unlike other countries like Australia and Singapore, New Zealand, even South Korea and Hong Kong, um, the situation in Jakarta is really taking a very long time, and therefore more and more people are investing a little bit more in the infrastructure, facilities, and design of their homes. And really, this is something that BSH as a company with 14 different brands. I will speak a little bit about Bosch and Gaggenau as our main brands in Asia Pacific, what we have done in order to ensure that there is a certain level of design improvement and comfort and technology. So maybe we can open the deck, and we won't be showing just images. There will be a couple of videos along the way to make it a little bit more um, lively and interesting and easier to understand. So this is how we see ourselves. We are predominantly kitchen appliances, but we have actually a very strong proposition in terms of reaching out to property investors and developers, because a very large portion of our business in Asia Pacific is through the residential property market, and that includes hotels, service apartments, residential apartments, as well as standalone houses all over the Asia Pacific region. We as an organization are focused on Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and we are also looking after what we call the export markets, such as Hong Kong, South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, Vietnam, as well as Cambodia. So if we go to the next slide, I will try to detail a little bit more about our technology and innovation. So as I mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic has drastically changed the way we live. We spend so much time at home. We work at home, we live at home, we cook at home. The students are studying at home with online classes. Everything is done in the home. And I hear a lot of comments from colleagues and friends that they have something known as cabin fever. And cabin fever is kind of like, it's inevitable when you spend so much time at home with the four walls around you. And maybe it's a little bit easier if you have a lot of different rooms in a bigger house. In Singapore, for example, we live in very small, tiny spaces. We call them shoebox living. Yeah? And you get cabin fever because you see each other every day. You spend time uh, living, cooking, looking after your kids, working, all in the same place. So people are spending a predominant amount of their waking hours at home and also their sleeping hours at home. On the next slide, if we look at the home used to be a place that we have our meals, spend time with our family, we sleep there at night, or night workers who sleep during the day. And for some people, it had functioned as an office before. And since COVID-19 pandemic hit, it actually focused, it became a full-time office space. Then it became a school because of online classes. And because lots of restaurants and bars and entertainment places closed, our home almost becomes like a favorite restaurant because of all the closures of the different F&B restaurants and outlets around the world. A lot of people resorted to having most of their meals at home. So the home became almost like a multi-purpose facility. The next one. So I'd like to address a little bit of consumers' behavior in general, not so much of just in the home. Buying patterns have changed, certainly. The way that we shop, the way that we source for foods, how reliant we have become on food deliveries or goods deliveries in general, the amount of time that we spend in front of the TV, watching TikTok, YouTube, Netflix. The kind of products that we buy have also changed quite a lot. I believe the companies that have been making, surgical masks and hand sanitizers, hygiene products in general, even very simple, basic things like toilet paper, rice, baking ingredients. Lots of people somehow turned to baking as a hobby. It was maybe for me a little bit of a stress relief activity as well. And several of the supermarkets, ran out of very key ingredients like flour and rice and noodles, salt, things like that. So the behavior has really changed where normal retail shopping was already in the decline in many countries, and it became to the point of zero for several months in several countries. On the next slide, we look at the behavior at home. And this is, as I mentioned, where we spend a lot of time at home, where a lot of cooking was done. Uh, Parents were with children 24 hours a day. I think for those who are parents, it's never easy because your child is in school, your child needs to have meals, you need to work, and there's a lot of juggling and time control that all of us needed to observe. There are a lot more chores as well. I don't know about everyone in this call, but when I was working at home, I found a lot of faults in my home. I found myself redecorating my bathroom. I found myself buying things like new dishes, new cookware online because I spent a lot more time washing and cleaning and cooking and decorating and baking due to a lot of I saved a lot of time on commuting because I couldn't go out. I spent, time baking at home instead of going out with friends or family. So the behavior at home has changed dramatically. Next slide. We look at the kitchen space. As a BSH company, as I mentioned, we're focused very much on design, all sorts of technology from cooking to cleaning, dish care, laundry, refrigeration, wine storage, and the kitchen space in many residential properties is almost like the heart of the home. And that's where the meals are made. That's where you spend time with your children. That's where your helpers at home are sort of keeping the meals together on time and assisting the family. And this is really the heart of living. I call it the heart of living because as a little girl growing up, I spent a lot of my early years in Malaysia. Both my parents were born in Malaysia. My father was from Malacca in the south. My mother was from the north. I was born in Singapore. But for 15 years of my life, I actually spent a lot of time in the south of Malaysia, especially. Now, my kitchen looked nothing like that. We had a small, very traditional Peranakan Straits Chinese style kitchen. And when I look at the basic kitchen needs of the past and the current design trends, it has just changed 100 times, yeah, 100-fold. The kitchen was at that time purely functional. It was the place that you went in to get the job done and you would get out right away. But kitchen and living spaces are now integrated. The open kitchen is by far very popular in Europe. It is getting more and more recognized in Asia. Although in Indonesia, of course, you have the wet kitchen or the dirty kitchen, as you call it, and you have the dry show kitchen, which might look something like that. The open kitchen is not for everyone. It really depends very much on what it is you want to show. If the kitchen and cooking and entertaining is very much part of your lifestyle, then this is something that BSH has nurtured and cultivated by going very much into product design that really merges with a very open living space like that. At this point of time, I would like to invite Ibu Leah to maybe speak about her experience in design. She's had years and years of experience. And over the decades, Ibu Lia, I believe you have seen many changes in residential living spaces as well. Would you like to comment a little bit about that? I think your microphone is still on mute.
I think this is a good kitchen, absolutely, because everybody knows about the Bosch and then the built-in and everything. Germany product is always number one in this world, for if I'm not mistaken. But me as a designer now, this is a kind of funny. I thought in this pandemic, we are as a designer cannot have a client, but because of the pandemic, thank God that God give us more, because all the clients wants to change the kitchen, number one, and then a place to work. Yeah, they want to have a small corner, and then sometimes they sit in the kitchen, open kitchen, to be a part of work from home or learning and doing things with the children. This is amazing that we have a lot of project talking about to change the kitchen, to change the bathroom, and the number three, to change the corner or the room in itself in the office, because they want to have really space that have a distance between each other, especially of course also in the kitchen. So this is I think I want to question lots of question about you. How does the change in design trends affect home appliances manufacture, Denise?
Oh, there are a lot of factors behind this, Ibu Lia. So first of all, when I look at the new technological changes, let's start with something very simple like refrigeration. As you can see in the picture, there are a couple of, to the right side, there's a little freezer with an ice dispenser, which you can hardly see. The refrigerator used to be something that you just stick into a corner. There's a freezer on top, there's a fridge below, and that was your means of preserving your food. And if the fridge was a decent one, it would work for 5 or 6, if you were very fortunate, 7 or 8 years. And if it had additional features, it would have a deodorizer, and that was it. Because of the way that we're living, even before COVID-19, the consumer demands are much further than this. They need something which not only preserve their fruits and vegetables for a longer time, for example, for those who don't go to the wet market every day, they needed the refrigerator to be part of the design space. So from a simple fridge in the corner, the refrigerator systems are now integrated into the wall, into the furniture, not just your regular wooden cabinets, but this example that you see is showing our Gaggenau range of built-in refrigerator. It's an extremely luxurious brand. It's the luxury arm of our business. And everything is seen as a very discrete architecture. So we have this term called the Gaggenau Grand Architecture, which my colleague from Indonesia, Tari, will explain when she does her presentation of the brands in Bahasa. And on top of that, it also needs to be extremely convenient because everyone lives differently. If you are a person living alone, you probably need something a little bit compact in size. Maybe you're not a person who cooks every day, and the sizes have become very varied. So instead of just a regular freezer on top, fridge below, you have columns. You have an entire column of refrigerator, entire column of wine, an entire column of freezing. And Gaggenau is a brand that allows you to tailor according to your needs.
And then I want to ask you, this is the kind of wood. Is it you can choose any wood, or you have a samples of how many woods do you have in this for the refrigerator?
Wow, this is tailored really very much according to the consumer needs. So if the designer has chosen a specific brand, local imported furniture, then there is a very specific size that gets mounted on the refrigerator. What is really an incredible trend and change right now is using our stainless steel panels that are manufactured to fit the refrigerator. So that stainless steel look is actually commercially inspired,
Yeah,
professionally
of
inspired
course.
from the best Michelin star restaurants in the world. And
Yeah.
you have that beautiful, top to toe steel look with that wooden look. It could be maple, it could be, there's a lot of oak wood in the industry now,
Oh,
because everyone knows that oak wood is extremely resilient. It's
yeah.
not so easy to get fungus infection,
Yes.
and
Easy
it's
to
very
maintain.
precious,
Yeah, easy
easy
to
to
maintain.
maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
because
a,
an oak wood tree takes 300 years to mature. So if you get oak
you're
wood, that's
right.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. It's getting older is much better usually the oak wood.
yeah,
And then they have a
exactly.
solid. So what are current
Yes.
kitchen trends then, you think?
Definitely,
Is it wood
incredibly,
or stones?
yeah, incredibly enough, people are still sticking to different kinds of wood. Um, I would say that other than oak wood, there's a lot of maple. There's a lot of unvarnished wood with a very either a vertical or a linear wood grain.
Uh-huh.
This particular example is very unique. It's actually wood from the Black Forest in the south of Germany, and
Mm.
it's awfully hard to get. You could be a multi-billionaire; it doesn't entitle you to buy it because the trees have to fall by themselves. They are not felled for manufacturing. In other words, every piece, every plank that you see in this picture, by the way, it's not an augmented picture, it's a real kitchen. Most of our photos are taken in Italy, Germany, and Scandinavia. It's a real kitchen studio, either of a studio kitchen manufacturer or someone's real home. You'll see a lot more as Tari presents later. There's
Uh-huh.
still high gloss. I think the high gloss is actually going out a little bit. Yeah, high gloss
Yeah,
laminate.
you're right. You're right.
Um, but the dark matte surfaces, like what you see on the island, that's definitely coming. And what goes very well with it is induction cooking technology. Because there's no open flame, it depends on what kind of cooking you like to do. As a Chinese, I still like to use a lot of gas cooking. I need the flame for certain kinds of very fast stir fry, but induction is by far very safe technology. And believe it or not, there's a global craze on dishwashers. It's very hard to believe, but many brands in the industry globally are trying so hard to keep up with the demand from consumers, and every factory is backlogged. Every brand, every factory is
Yeah,
backlogged
you're
on
right. Yep.
dishwashers.
Yep.
So if you see a dishwasher, that's kind of like gold these days. And that's about convenient washing. Maybe your helper is busy doing something else. It's a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
It cleans and dries. So I think with all that dishwashing at home, I had a customer who told me that he fights less with his wife and his family because no one has to do the dishes and the machine does it for them. So that's a huge uprise during the COVID situation last year, especially.
Okay, this is going to be nice. And how much appliance can become create focus and elegance in the kitchen? What do you think, Denise?
I think when it comes to elegance, there's always a price performance ratio whenever we talk about individual homes or the residential properties, because we have to be very pragmatic in explaining this, because when a developer company is building 500 apartments, for example, and then an individual homeowner with, a three-story mansion, I think it's a very different approach because um, many of our customers are building, small, medium, boutique size, mega size buildings, and the kitchens are kind of set in a certain way, in a certain design. And I think when we are looking at these two different examples, with an individual house, it's really tailor-made. And usually the owner would like to have something that is what you call creating a dream kitchen. And it's not about selling them the best technology. It's about finding out how this person lives. Now, in a development with 2, 3, 500, 1,000 homes, obviously the purpose is to sell that property at a maximum yield. And
Yes, you're
what
right.
helps with the yield are reliable products with good customer service. I think that by far
I agree.
is 10 times more important. The appliances for sure can look stylish, but they have to be very reliable. And in order for reliability to come forward, you need a very good customer service team. So you can have the most beautiful appliances. Your kitchen can look like that, but it would not be wonderful if you did not have the backup system.
Yeah, I agree. And then
Yep.
one question: if refrigerator integrated into furniture, how you
Yes.
dispose the hot air product from the refrigerator?
So the beautiful thing about refrigeration innovation from a BSH point of view is that with a Bosch refrigerator or a Gaggenau refrigerator, we have
But you have a hot
the people
produce,
who,
right? Hot water.
yes, there is hot air.
Okay.
No, it's actually cold water and
Uh-huh.
ice cubes or crushed ice.
Okay.
And we have to take care of installation that there's enough ventilation because the heat comes from the compressor below. And the products are designed, these ones that you see in the picture, where the heat is actually emitted from the front. There is a venting
Okay.
area below the refrigerator,
Mhm.
and there's always a planning process that we take with the designers to make sure that there's enough ventilation on the back. And it is possible even in tight spaces. So I have a little apartment, and I had to make sure that my integrated fridge really has, I call it room to breathe. So in terms of the longevity of the product, it depends very much on the correct planning and, very importantly, the correct installation.
Okay, that's a good. And then we want to know how is the current development on technology. This is the most important thing. Innovation and connectivity in home appliances business, and how the home
Okay.
appliances manufacturer keeping up with the ever-changing technology. So this is a good
The
question
ever-changing
that I want to hear.
technology, Ibulia,
Uh-huh.
you have said the magic words. This ever-changing technology is something that
Mhm.
manufacturers, things that we have today are technologies that we have dreamt of as far as 3, 4, 5 years ago. And one of the things that the urbanized world has demanded, if you look at a simple product like an oven, yeah, an oven, you do baking, you do roasting, you grill a fish. And if you're a very experienced cook at home, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll know how to control the temperature. And for those who are learning to cook, the main change that we have adapted to is to provide automatic cooking functions where even a new cook would be assured of good results. The demand of users these days is they go onto YouTube and they go on various websites, they watch videos or pictures on Instagram, and they say, I want to cook like that. And they need an appliance that gives them a certain sense of guidance, and the guidance would come in the form of an automatic program that allows you to get perfect results. This is the urbanized way of living. I don't have much time. I don't want to waste ingredients. Food wastage is a very big thing that we look
Yeah.
at in the company. That's why we make good ovens and good refrigerators. And in order to prevent wastage, I need to get it right the first time. So automatic cooking functions are done in order to give that assurance of a good result. Home connectivity, smart technology is something that I will address a little bit later on. But yes, you're right, Ibulia, there is a strong demand. I believe very strongly that with all the Asian countries that I've been dealing with, I find the open-mindedness and the interest in smart connectivity um, could be a very huge thing in Indonesia. it's coming to a stage one day where it's not a nice to have, it is a must have at some stage, where you can remotely control your appliances. You can check in case your child is meddling with something and you're not at home, and something appears on your app, and it is not something of the future. We have it today. We had it in Europe, and we have been testing it in Singapore. So I'll be happy to share it at the end of this when we have a video. And I would really invite a lot of questions because, as I said, it's something that we are working on for Indonesia, something that we hope that we can launch in 2022. It's still under test at the moment due to the household usage habits, but it is something called Home Connect that exists today.
So the smart home be the future property then.
Yes, correct. And the beauty of it is that we have currently products running in our factory that are manufactured to run on connectivity simply with an app on your phone or your tablet.
Wow,
Yeah.
it will be great. So they're really smart that you can cook
Very
and then
convenient.
yeah, very convenient, and we just touch the button of our mobile phone and then boom, everything can
Yes.
services for all of
Yes.
us. So
Yes.
discussion.
You can change the temperature in your oven. You
Oh.
can, I invite questions as well. It's a very interesting topic. I do believe we will get quite a lot of questions on this a bit later.
And then the right design and the right home appliances will be optimized or even increase the property value, of course, yeah. If I
Yes, I believe
saw,
so.
yeah,
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 it becomes a very smart home. And what is very important about connectivity is that everyone is producing apps. It becomes cheaper and cheaper to produce an app. If you build a
yeah.
condominium of 300 apartments, maybe you have an app to book the facilities, to book the clubhouse or the gym or the barbecue area. That's, I would say, getting fairly common. The difference between having a regular app and an open-ended app, and we do have an open-ended app that allows the integration of other functions into our Home Connect app. So everyone has heard about the Internet of Things, the Bosch IoT as we call it, security systems that run, not just because Robert Bosch, that's our mother company of BSH, Robert Bosch owns BSH 100%, and they have for years and years put a lot of emphasis on high quality and technology. And one of the best technological advances they've made is the security system. So they don't just have a fantastic camera with a lens, they have amazing software behind it. And it comes to the stage where I was at the Escort Apartments in Singapore, and they are looking into, you've heard of parking theft, huh? Where motorbikes or cars go into a car park of
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
apartment,
yeah,
and they go very close behind the car when they exit to avoid being parking, because parking costs so much in Singapore and
yeah,
Hong Kong.
yeah. I was staying there for 5 years, so I know how expensive everything over there.
Yeah, so people steal. There's a lot of car parking theft, and there is software development that could be entered into the app, where the property management would be able to zero in on certain vehicles that are doing the car theft. Obviously, the camera software is very powerful, zooming in on the motorbike license plate, for example, or theft in general. Yeah, it must be so close and so accurate that it it must be able to read the logo on your shirt or your name badge, and as well as the car plate number. So all these kind of security systems, booking systems, um, uh, for those who are familiar with IFTTT, yeah, if this then that, lots of different platforms like controlling your air conditioning, if it's not centrally controlled, your sound system could actually be integrated into a single Home Connect app. So smart home living certainly could escalate the value of your property when you're selling it or reselling it. And of course,
Okay.
the brands that you
Yeah,
use
of
of your
course.
hardware and software. Yes.
So I think people wants to know more about your presentation. This is time for
Yes.
everybody knows about the BSH. Can you repeat? Can you make it a second presentation, Denise?
Yes, so
Because
let's
everybody was love to see more and more about the
okay.
BOS.
So I think there's a next slide where I will go through quickly, where we talk about design trends. We don't just observe trends, we actually work on them, where we look at living spaces, yeah, the colors that are needed. And I cannot deny that our appliances from BSH are getting darker. The colors are a very difficult thing, yeah, but dark is certainly here to stay. Anthracite, black, dark gray, pearl gray, gunmetal. This has been really a rage on dark tones, and it creates depth in any room. Just because you have a small space, it doesn't mean you cannot have dark tones, because darkness does add depth to a room, and as well as a certain elegance. On the next slide, you will see that it has uh, you will see what I mean, where it is merged. Our appliances are in stainless steel, as well as darker colors like the dark glass on the induction. And always with stainless steel and wood and dark colors, there's a certain balance of the coldness of steel and the warmth of wood and dark materials. Next slide. So BSH as a company has always stated that our appliances are never one-dimensional. We are looking at appliances where it is a question of having different, not only different colors, but different materials. And if you look at the picture on the left, it's very black cast iron. It's a very robust material for our gas cookers. Um, Dark glass versus stainless steel on our induction and induction accessories. We have used a kind of a gunmetal anodized aluminum finishing for our Gaggenau refrigerators inside. We still have models that have plastic for sure. And you can see as well the last picture of this is, believe it or not, it's our oven. It's very new age looking. And uh, our stainless steel and glass is very cold. And when you have a very cold appliance, it looks beautiful, but there is a need to soften it as an overall look in the kitchen. The next slide. As I said before, dark doesn't necessarily need to be black. There are 50 shades of black and gray, and it's a matter of taste. It doesn't mean that this is the only way to go. It is an inspirational image that I would like to leave with you, where this one, again, it is a real kitchen. It was a photo that was taken in Denmark by our BSH team that is for their region. They are headquartered in Sweden. And you can see dark versus light versus natural daylight. The next slide. Here you see a very interesting concept. If you look at the picture where yeah, the pot is sitting on, there's a lot of steam coming out. One of the design technologies that BSH has come up with is integrating ventilation on an induction cooktop. So the traditional methodology of having ventilation above the cooktop um, is still there. I would say that's a more um, regular conservative approach. But that little space in between the two induction cooking areas where all the steam is going could be vented out of the house, or it could go through a cleaning filter system and released back into the room. So this ensures that you do not have something above your head. You don't need an additional piece of cooker hood or an island hood above your head or at eye level. Everything is pretty much on the surface, and it keeps the design extremely clean. It keeps your kitchen literally clean as well. The next one. The next one is about choosing the right design, yeah, and of course, appliances for the properties. And property markets across Asia go through a certain cycle. Construction industry goes down, you know, everything goes down, and then there's a cycle, it comes back up again, depending, of course, on the kind of price classes which our developer customers are offering to their potential buyers. We have, as I mentioned, two brands for the Indonesia market. Bosch, you can see in the middle and on the right side, and Gaggenau on the left side. It does cater to different market segments, price market segments. And Bosch, I would say, has been very much on the premium sector and Gaggenau on luxury homes. We are changing this. I have a personal belief that at some stage, the majority of people who enjoy spending time in the kitchen, I hope that one day everyone has access to a Bosch product, which is why we would be introducing a much lower price value class range with no less quality, no less reliability, simpler features, but still the possibility to own a Bosch product, taking a piece of German engineering home with you, but at a much more affordable price and also with a very cool design. It's called the Bosch Black Collection, which we will launch in Indonesia by the middle of this year. So that's something to look forward to that would go into a more pocket-friendly approach with Bosch. And I've personally chosen the appliances myself because this is something that I believe everyone, as many people, should have the opportunity to own a Bosch, not just the premium homeowners. The next slide shows as I mentioned about, smart technology. I'll detail this a bit later on. Yeah, you could literally sit in your car and operate your appliance or check on what your family is doing. And I'll detail this a little bit later on tablet or mobile phone. The next slide is about a little bit of facts and figures about BSH as a company. I might jump in now and then, but my colleague Tari will present this in Bahasa because there's a lot of details which I think would be appreciated in local language. So Tari is our marketing person for BSH, very well experienced. So I would like to introduce her in order to take over this presentation. Go ahead, Tari.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think I cannot turn on my video. Wait a minute. Let me check. Okay. Okay, I will just start the presentation anyway. Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Lea and Denise, for a very interesting discussion. I believe many of our audience here were able to get insight from it. And first of all, I'd like to continue the presentation, the rest of the presentation in Bahasa Indonesia, and I hope that would be okay. So, saya ingin memperkenalkan diri saya terlebih dahulu. Seperti yang tadi sudah diperkenalkan oleh Denise, nama saya Lestari Kusuma Pratiwi, saya menjabat sebagai marketing eksekutif di PT BSH Home Appliances, dan saya juga bertanggung jawab untuk dua brand yang dibawa oleh BSH, yaitu Bosch dan Gaggenau. Seperti yang tadi disampaikan oleh Denise dan juga Ibu Lea bahwa pemilihan desain atau appliances untuk properti memegang peranan yang sangat penting ya untuk meningkatkan atau mengoptimalkan nilai jual properti Anda. Nah, selaku manufacturer of home appliances terbesar, BSH tentunya dapat membantu Bapak dan Ibu dari designer atau builder sekalian untuk mengoptimalkan nilai properti tersebut. Nah, sebelum kita membicarakan banyak hal mengenai produk yang kami miliki, saya ingin memperkenalkan sedikit mengenai siapa kami. Next slide, please. Oke, BSH atau yang dahulu dikenal dengan Bosch and Siemens Home Appliances merupakan perusahaan yang didirikan pada tahun 1967 atas kolaborasi dari dua perusahaan besar asal Jerman, yaitu Robert Bosch GmbH dan Siemens AG. Mungkin Bapak dan Ibu sudah mengenal ya kedua brand tersebut. Sehingga saat itu dua brand home appliances yang berada di bawah naungan BSH Home Appliances adalah Siemens dan Bosch. Meskipun antara tahun 1979 sampai 1983 itu terjadi krisis minyak di Eropa, BSH tetap berkembang dan bahkan menambahkan brand baru ke dalam brand portofolionya, yaitu brand Neff. yang kemudian juga kita tetap berkembang dan menambahkan brand-brand lain, tambahan di tahun 1984 sampai 2002 seperti brand Gaggenau yang tadi Bapak dan Ibu lihat appliances-nya, kemudian juga ada brand Thermador, Profilo, dan Codex. Kemudian pada tahun 2015 terjadi perubahan di struktur perusahaan, seluruh saham yang dimiliki oleh Siemens, kini semuanya sudah dimiliki 100% oleh Robert Bosch GmbH. Nah, saat ini BSH direpresentasikan di 37 negara, salah satunya di Indonesia, seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Oke, jadi seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan bahwa saat ini kami sudah hadir di 37 negara dan kami ini terbagi menjadi beberapa region. Yang pertama ada region Eropa, kemudian ada region China, ada region North America, dan yang terakhir adalah region emerging markets, di mana Indonesia sendiri masuk ke dalam region emerging market tersebut. On to the next slide, please. Oke, di region emerging market sendiri kami memiliki beberapa pabrik-pabrik untuk home appliances kami. Contohnya seperti di Chennai, kami memiliki pabrik untuk laundry care. Kemudian juga di Cherkasskoy, kita juga memiliki pabrik untuk kulkas, laundry, dishwasher, dan cooking product yang lainnya. Selain itu tentunya kita juga ada subsidiary di tiap negara ya, di tiap region seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Nah, kemudian brand apa saja sih yang saat ini berada di dalam naungan BSH Home Appliances secara global? Kita akan menemukannya di next slide. Oke, sebagai perusahaan yang telah memproduksi high quality appliances lebih dari 50 tahun dan sebagai salah satu juga manufacturer terbesar di dunia, konsumen tentunya sudah tahu dan mungkin sudah banyak melihat brand-brand yang ada di bawah naungan BSH nih. Dan sebagai bentuk digitalisasi, BSH saat ini sudah menetapkan strategi yang baru dan yang lebih jelas untuk mengubah perusahaan kami dari yang asalnya hanya menjual home appliances atau berdasarkan hardware, kami ingin mengembangkan bisnis kami menjadi perusahaan yang berdasarkan hardware plus. Jadi kami tidak hanya menjual appliances, tapi kami juga menjual service. Salah satunya adalah melalui ekosistem brand kita yang tadi sudah disebutkan oleh Denis sebelumnya, ada Home Connect. Selain Home Connect, kami juga punya home appliances brand yang ada global brands, kemudian ada local heroes, dan juga ada label brands. Contohnya untuk global brands yang seperti tadi saya sebutkan, ada Bosch, ada Siemens, ada Gaggenau, dan juga ada NEF. Sedangkan untuk local heroes, mereka adalah brand-brand yang dijual hanya untuk pasar-pasar tertentu saja. Contohnya seperti Thermador yang dijual di South and North America, kemudian ada Profilo, contohnya yang juga dijual hanya di Turki, seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Oke, BSH sendiri memiliki goal yang sangat jelas seperti yang sudah saya bilang, ingin menjadi market leader untuk customer experience-nya di dunia home appliances. Sehingga kami selalu menempatkan consumer kami sebagai pembuatan produk hingga instalasi dan after sale service, sehingga kami selalu berusaha memberikan yang terbaik untuk customer kami. Seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Oke, dan berikut adalah jenis-jenis home appliances yang kami tawarkan untuk penggunaan rumah tangga, mulai dari kulkas, seperti tadi disebutkan juga kita ada mesin pencuci piring atau dishwasher, kemudian ada peralatan memasak seperti kompor, oven, cooker hood, mesin cuci hingga peralatan memasak, persiapan permasak seperti hand blender dan mixer juga. On to the next slide, please. Oke, dengan perubahan digital yang sangat cepat dan juga demand dari customer, BSH merubah core bisnisnya seperti yang tadi saya bilang, dari hanya home appliances manufacturer, kami juga menawarkan personalized function, service, dan juga konten yang merubah kami dari sekedar hardware company menjadi hardware plus company. Seperti itu. Salah satunya adalah dengan Home Connect yang akan saya bahas di slide selanjutnya. On to the next slide, please. Oke. Untuk mendukung goal kami menjadi perusahaan yang hardware plus, kami menghadirkan sebuah ekosistem brand yang kami sebut sebagai Home Connect, yang merupakan digital ekosistem terbesar untuk connected kitchen. Nah, dengan Home Connect appliances ini, semua Home Connect semua appliances Anda dapat dikontrol dengan mudah dengan menggunakan app yang ada di ponsel atau tablet Anda. Jadi dengan Home Connect app ini Anda bukan hanya bisa menyalakan atau mematikan oven Anda atau mesin cuci Anda juga bisa mengatur program, mengatur timer, bahkan mengintip isi kulkas, misalnya ketika Anda belanja ke supermarket tapi Anda lupa apa saja yang sudah habis di kulkas Anda, tinggal buka handphone atau tablet Anda dan intip isi kulkas Anda dari situ. Nah, saat ini Home Connect sendiri sudah memiliki 42 partner per Februari 2020, contohnya seperti Alexa-nya Amazon dan juga Google Home. Dan saat ini sudah tersedia di 40 negara. Nah, Indonesia pun akan segera hadir, segera, mohon ditunggu. Dan for your information, partner kami juga terus bertambah supaya meningkatkan daya tarik Home Connect ecosystem itu sendiri. Seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Ya, kami juga memiliki customer service yang tentunya selalu siap membantu Anda. Seperti yang tadi Denis bilang, percuma punya appliances yang bagus tapi nggak punya backup system yang bagus. Maka dari itu, kami memiliki tim customer service yang berpengalaman dan juga profesional dengan teknisi yang sudah sering di-training dengan update-update teknologi terbaru dari kami. Dan juga kami menjamin ketersediaan spare part atau aksesoris paling tidak 10 tahun. Seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Oke, lalu siapa sih BSH di Indonesia ini? Siapakah PT BSH Home Appliances di Indonesia? Kita berkenalan sedikit juga, boleh the next slide? Oke, PT BSH Home Appliances sendiri didirikan di Indonesia pada tahun 2012 sebagai subsidiary dari BSH Home Appliances GmbH. Kami berlokasi di APL Tower lantai 20 di Central Park, Jakarta Barat. Saat ini ada 2 brand yang kami bawa ke Indonesia, yakni Bosch dan Gaggenau. Nanti kita akan berkenalan sedikit juga. Juga kami akan segera membawa satu ekosistem brand kami, yakni Home Connect, sedang dalam proses menuju ke Indonesia, seperti itu. Boleh next slide? Dari kedua brand yang kami bawa, The Bosch dan Gaggenau, kami memiliki range appliances yang sangat besar, mulai dari built-in oven, built-in mesin kopi, mesin cuci, kulkas, dishwasher atau mesin cuci piring, hingga peralatan indoor cleaning dan food preparation. Kami kalau secara retail hadir di berbagai toko di kota-kota besar juga, dan juga ada di e-commerce ternama di Indonesia saat ini. Next slide please. Kami juga memiliki tim project yang akan dengan senang hati membantu Bapak dan Ibu untuk kebutuhan development-nya atau kebutuhan propertinya. Tim kami siap memberikan expert advice atau masukan-masukan kira-kira appliances apa saja yang cocok, dan memberikan rekomendasi pada setiap tahapan project development Anda. Seperti itu. Tinggal hubungi kami. Next slide please. Saat ini kami juga memiliki tim service sendiri, teknisi sendiri di Jakarta. Kemudian kita juga telah menunjuk beberapa service partner kami yang ada di beberapa kota, Bandung, Surabaya, Bali, dan Medan. Kemudian mulai tahun ini juga kami memiliki appointed service partner di Batam. To the next slide please. Nah, untuk selalu memastikan kepuasan pelanggan, kami juga selalu berusaha berinovasi dalam mencari teknik perbaikan yang baru, kemudian selalu mengadakan training secara rutin sehingga seluruh teknisi kami, baik yang ada di Jakarta maupun di luar Jakarta, selalu up to date dan memiliki kompetensi terkini, seperti itu. Sehingga kami bisa terus memonitor performa CS tim kami. Kami juga memiliki sistem yang kami sebut Net Promoter Score, di mana pelanggan dapat langsung menilai service tim kami. Gitu. Untuk the next slide, please. Oke, seperti yang tadi sudah saya mention sebelumnya bahwa di Indonesia kita membawa 2 brand. Yang pertama ada Gaggenau dan yang kedua ada Bosch. Saat ini saya ingin memperkenalkan sedikit mengenai Gaggenau brand, yang merupakan luxurious brand dari BSH Home Appliances. On to the next slide, please. Oke. Kami memiliki sebuah filosofi di Gaggenau yang kami bisa dilihat di gambar. If the kitchen is the heart of the modern home, Gaggenau is the soul of the kitchen. Kami percaya bahwa jika dapur itu merupakan jantung atau hati dari rumah Anda, maka Gaggenau adalah soul dari kitchen-nya. Seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Oke, Gaggenau sendiri merupakan brand luxurious home appliances yang berasal dari Jerman dan memiliki sejarah yang sudah selama lebih dari 3 abad. Dan di Gaggenau sendiri kami selalu membuat standar yang sangat tinggi karena kami memiliki sejarah heritage yang tinggi. Kami tentunya harus live up to the reputation. Kami selalu berusaha memberikan yang terbaik untuk konsumen setiap harinya. Hal ini kami terapkan dalam setiap tahapan proses, dari mulai research and development, kemudian pembuatan produk, hingga instalasi dan after sale service-nya. To the next slide, please. Oke. Gaggenau sendiri merupakan sebuah nama kota di Jerman, jadi ya memang bukan hanya sebuah nama brand saja, tapi Gaggenau merupakan sebuah nama kota di Jerman. Jadi pada tahun 1683 ini seseorang bernama Louis William mendirikan Gaggenau yang saat itu memproduksi paku. Kalau tadi lihat di gambar sebelumnya, ada foto paku itu adalah heritage-nya kita, brand heritage-nya kita, karena pada awalnya Gaggenau ini memproduksi paku dan besi tempa, juga beberapa alat perang, weapon seperti senapan yang bisa dilihat di layar, juga ada tulisannya Eisenwerk Gaggenau, di bawahnya ada logo 2 senapan. Jadi kenapa logonya itu? Karena memang saat itu kita memproduksi senapan. Kemudian fast forward 200 tahun kemudian, di tahun 1873 setelah Louis William wafat, perusahaan Gaggenau ini dibeli oleh seorang entrepreneur Jerman, dan Gaggenau mulai membuat peralatan agriculture, peralatan besi, juga advertising sign yang terbuat dari enamel spesial. Saat ini enamel ini bisa Anda temukan di oven-ovennya Gaggenau, seperti itu. Jadi kami sangat menghargai heritage kami. Kemudian Gaggenau juga mulai memproduksi home appliances pada tahun 1931 ketika perusahaan ini diakuisisi oleh Dr. Otto van Banke. Jadi Gaggenau mulai membuat oven pertama yang menggunakan bahan bakarnya itu batu bara. Dr. Otto juga merupakan pionir pembuat kompor listrik yang sekarang kita pakai gitu. 20 tahun kemudian putranya meneruskan bisnis ayahnya dan dialah yang mulai memberikan perubahan besar pada perusahaan Gaggenau. Dia juga merupakan pionir dari modular cooking units yang nanti akan saya tampilkan juga gambarnya, dan juga salah satu yang pertama kali memperkenalkan downdraft ventilation. Kemudian di tahun 1995 Gaggenau diakuisisi oleh BSH Home Appliances, dan sejak saat itulah Gaggenau memperkuat brandnya di kancah internasional. On to the next slide please. Oke, beliau adalah seorang head of design-nya Gaggenau yang bernama Sven Backe. Dan dia adalah merupakan orang-orang yang berada di belakang ide-ide desainnya Gaggenau. Bahkan Denise memiliki kesempatan untuk menginterview beliau secara langsung. And I believe Denise, you have interviewed him and you want to share something a little bit about him as well, because you know him personally.
So we get a lot of questions. As Tari had presented, we have several brands in our company, and it's really, I would say that the designers in our company are really dedicated to the brands. So Sven Bakker is the head of design for the Gaggenau brand, focuses on Gaggenau, whereas we have Robert, who is the Bosch designer, the head of Bosch design, and he focuses on Bosch alone. So it's extremely focused approach that the heads of design take with their individual teams. Now, I like this quotation by Sven Bakker a lot. So first of all, he's a really cool and interesting guy. You can tell from the picture, he's a designer guy, yeah. And I think every designer has a certain pressure on his shoulders or on her shoulders to make sure that the design not only looks amazing, stays beautiful for several years. When the brand is 338 years old, it becomes even more challenging. And the pressure for Sven and his team is really not so much, as he said, to impress someone, but to reach to a level of close perfection as he can. And that is no easy job. He does a backcasting method. So there is literally a working room. We call it the Gaggenau dungeon, like a castle. You have a dungeon, right? And normally, when you get punished, if you've done a crime, you get sent to the dungeon. But our dungeon is different. It's a beautiful white room. There's nothing in it. It's white walls, pristine. It's basically a room where Sven and his team enter when they need to have some kind of a design thinking philosophy. And backcasting for him means sitting in this empty room that is completely empty. Yeah, it's a white room, white walls, a few pieces of furniture to sit and to draw and to put their thoughts down. And they spend at least half a day in this room, and they imagine how life would be in the next 30 years. This is what I learned during my interview with Sven Bakker. He imagines not so much of how a kitchen should look like. Remember in the earlier slide where we said people are the center of everything that we do. He imagines how people live in Europe, how a housewife will be like in China, how a young couple would live like in Singapore, how an elderly couple with their grandchildren will live in Germany. And it's different everywhere, and everyone has different living and cooking habits. And based on how consumers live, work, eat, cook, look after their children, do leisure activities, then he comes up with design inspirations, not so much of looking at an oven and says, well, I think that, it has to look like that, or it has to have a certain technology and function. Yes, BSH is a very technology driven company, but the users and the habits and the longevity of that same family who's going to use that oven for 10 years is the center of everything. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Ya, thank you Denise for sharing. So seperti yang sudah dibicarakan Denise tadi, proses yang dibutuhkan oleh brand Gaggenau untuk menciptakan sebuah produk itu tidaklah mudah dan tidaklah sebentar. Jadi kami selalu memperhitungkan semuanya bahkan dari 20 tahun sebelumnya, seperti itu. Boleh next slide? Oke. Selain tadi kita membicarakan proses bagaimana Sven Beke mendesain sebuah barang, kami juga pada prakteknya ketika desain sudah fix dan kita sudah memproduksi barang, kami selalu memilih the best material dan memprosesnya dengan craftsmanship yang sempurna. Seperti yang bisa dilihat di gambar nih saat ini, terlihat seorang karyawan di pabrik kami sedang memasang layar TFT untuk oven. Dan terlihat juga dia mengenakan sarung tangan, pelindung kepala, kemudian pelindung mata dan segala macam untuk mencegah debu atau partikel-partikel lain masuk ke dalam layar TFT ini saat pemasangan. Jadi kami memang benar-benar memperhatikan dengan meticulous semua proses pembuatan produk. Juga for your information, hampir 70% proses pembuatan produk Gaggenau ini masih menggunakan tenaga manusia dan bukan menggunakan mesin, sehingga kualitasnya akan terus terjaga seperti itu. On the next slide, please. Ya, dengan produksi yang begitu detail dan teliti, produk-produk Gaggenau juga selalu menghasilkan performa yang luar biasa. Selain desainnya yang eksepsional, alat-alatnya juga tentunya akan bekerja sempurna. Seperti itu, memberikan hasil yang terbaik untuk masakan atau cucian Anda, seperti itu. Next slide, please. Dua hal tadi, meticulously handpick material, kemudian craftsmanship, kemudian exceptional result, ini yang menjadikan Gaggenau adalah satu-satunya luxury appliances for brand home appliances in the world. And bagaimana sih kita mengklaim hal tersebut? Bisa dilihat di slide selanjutnya. Nah, untuk membuktikannya, kenapa kita hanya satu-satunya luxury brand appliances di dunia, kita bisa melihat di layar ini ada sebuah grafik yang menunjukkan German Luxury Ranking yang diinisiasi oleh Manager Magazine. Bisa dilihat di sini, Gaggenau ada di list ini di antara brand-brand lain yang mungkin Bapak dan Ibu kenal, seperti A. Lange & Söhne, produksi jam, kemudian juga ada Porsche untuk mobilnya, dan kami adalah satu-satunya home appliances yang masuk ke dalam list ini. Dan selama hampir dari awal kita masuk, kita selalu berada di top 20. Sampai sekarang kita ada di posisi ke-6 di tahun 2018, dan di tahun 2020 ini juga akan diumumkan, di tahun 2020 kemarin juga telah diumumkan kembali. Nanti kita update slide-nya seperti itu. Dan survei yang dilakukan oleh Manager Magazine ini adalah survei yang independen, jadi tim penilainya juga independen dan tidak memiliki kaitan apapun dengan brand yang ada pada list ini. Seperti itu. Next slide, please. Oke. Seperti yang tadi Denise bilang, semua peralatan kami ini diciptakan untuk mengkomplement rumah atau living space Anda. Seperti yang bisa dilihat di sini, ada kulkas kami Vario Cooling 400 series yang merupakan bagian dari Grand Architecture. Kami pada tahun 2018 di bulan April ini, Gaggenau berpartisipasi di Eurocucina dan memperkenalkan kulkas ini, Vario Cooling 400 series, yang telah memenangkan penghargaan If Design Award, Gold If Design Award. Jadi kulkas ini dinilai sebagai statement yang sangat sempurna untuk meng-highlight kitchen atau living space Anda. Karena size-nya juga besar, jadi bisa dibilang ini adalah the heart of the living room or your kitchen. Seperti itu. The next slide, please. Oke, produk yang bisa Bapak dan Ibu lihat di sini adalah sebuah kompor induksi kami yang terlihat sangat menyatu dengan countertop yang ada di sini yang kami sebut kompor induction-nya dengan CX full surface induction. Ide di balik launch dari kompor ini adalah kami ingin menciptakan limitless imagination atau imajinasi tanpa batas. Ketika Anda menggunakan kompor ini, Anda bisa meletakkan panci atau pennya di mana saja, asal masih ada di dalam bagian kompornya, itu bisa diletakkan di mana saja tanpa ada batas, sehingga tidak ada zona-zona khusus di mana Anda tidak boleh meletakkan panci atau pen Anda. Dengan si full surface induction ini, Anda bisa meletakkan panci atau peralatan masak Anda di atas kompornya di mana saja, seperti itu, tanpa ada batas, seperti itu. Next slide, please. Oke, ini adalah Varia cooktops kami atau cooktops modular dari Gaggenau. Ini merupakan cooktop standar para profesional yang diperuntukkan untuk private kitchen. Instalasinya sendiri bisa dilihat di sini bisa dipilih maksud saya untuk flush atau surface mounted installation. Yang unik dari Vario 400 cooktops ini adalah posisi knob kompornya yang tidak berada pada cooktopnya tapi berada di bagian meja islandnya sendiri seperti itu, dan pemasangannya sendiri bisa dikombinasikan. Anda misalkan ingin induction dengan grill saja atau hanya teppanyaki dengan gas hob, tentu semuanya bisa dirancang sesuai kebutuhan seperti itu. Next slide please. Oke, kami juga memiliki tipe Vario 200 cooktops dengan bahan stainless steel yang bisa dilihat di sini, namun ditambah stainless steelnya ini tidak berwarna stainless steel, namun juga ditambahkan proses anodize, yaitu menambahkan coat berwarna hitam pada stainless steel supaya tidak terjadi korosi. Dan bisa dilihat sendiri tadi kita sudah bahas tentang design trend. Kita bisa lihat bahwa trennya adalah dark tones. Nah, dengan warna hitam pada si Vario cooktops 200 ini dapat menjadi statement dari dapur Anda, seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Dan saya perkenalkan pada Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, ini adalah Larry the Lobster, food icon dari Grandmaster Range Gaggenau. Grandmaster Range itu adalah sebuah new generation steam ovens yang akan kami launch di tahun ini. Seperti itu. On to the next slide, please. Nah, tadi kita sudah berkenalan dengan brand luxuriesnya dari BSH Home Appliances, yaitu Gaggenau, dan sekarang saya ingin memperkenalkan Bosch brand yang merupakan premium brand dari BSH Home Appliances. Mungkin Bapak dan Ibu tahu Bosch adalah brand power tools atau brand aki atau busi ya. Nah, sekarang kita berkenalan dengan Home Appliances premium dari Bosch juga. Next slide, please. Oke. Bosch memiliki sejarah lebih dari 130 tahun dan Bosch terus-menerus mengembangkan teknologinya. Jadi pada awalnya ini Bosch merupakan pada tahun 1886, Robert Bosch memulai bisnisnya itu dengan membuka sebuah workshop elektronik. Kemudian pada perjalanannya Robert Bosch berpikir bahwa it's time to make home appliances as well. Jadi pada tahun 1972 Bosch memperkenalkan kulkas pertamanya Bosch di tahun 1933, kulkas pertamanya Bosch yang berbentuk seperti tabung. Ini bukan mesin cuci tapi ini adalah kulkas. Kemudian di tahun 1972 barulah Bosch memperkenalkan washer dryer yang mempermudah urusan cuci mencuci. Kemudian hingga saat ini kami sudah berkembang begitu banyak dari sisi teknologi maupun inovasi sehingga produk kami pun bertambah banyak range-nya seperti itu. Next slide please. Oke, seperti yang saya mention, Bosch ini memiliki range yang sangat banyak mulai dari oven. Tadi mungkin Denny sudah mention sedikit bahwa oven kami ini memiliki teknologi yang paling inovatif saat ini. Saya sebagai orang yang tidak bisa masak, tapi ingin mencoba memasak, tentunya ingin hasilnya instan. Wah, langsung bisa masak seperti itu. Dengan oven dari Bosch ini, saya tidak perlu khawatir berapa lama kue saya harus dimasak atau berapa tinggi suhunya atau jenis pemanasannya. Apa yang dibutuhkan oven, api atas atau api bawah, seperti itu tidak perlu memikirkan hal seperti itu lagi karena ketika saya membuat kue, saya cukup taruh kuenya di dalam oven dan ovennya akan menentukan sendiri berapa lama waktu pemanggangannya, tipe pemanggangannya, dan suhu berapakah yang dibutuhkan. Jadi ovennya sangat canggih. Selain itu juga kami memiliki produk lain seperti washer dryer, kulkas dishwasher, coffee machine, built-in coffee machine, kemudian ada kompor dan cooker hood, dan juga ada food preparation kayak mixer, kemudian ada juga hand blender dan blender seperti itu. Next slide please. Dan saat ini Bosch merupakan brand home appliances nomor 1 di Eropa di kelasnya tentunya, di premium class bisa dilihat dari sisi market share yang dimiliki saat ini. Bosch nomor 1, kemudian dari secara unaided brand awareness juga kami memiliki jadi nomor 1 di Eropa saat ini. Dan klaim ini masih berlaku hingga hari ini, sehingga tahun 2021, seperti itu. The next slide please. Selain mengutamakan functionality, Bosch juga tentunya ingin memberikan desain yang bagus untuk peralatannya. Peralatan-peralatan kami banyak sekali mendapatkan penghargaan seperti If Design Award, Red Dot Award, kemudian German Design Award, yang mana sudah dikenal di kalangan desainer. On to the next slide, please. Nah, selanjutnya kami ingin memperlihatkan kepada Bapak dan Ibu project reference yang sudah kami berhasil dapatkan di Indonesia apa saja. Saya akan flash sedikit-sedikit. Boleh next slide, please. Yang pertama ada project reference di Indonesia yang bisa Bapak dan Ibu lihat sendiri. Ada Ananda Maya Residence di sini yang telah dianugerahi Best High Rise Residential Architectural Design. Project residensial yang luxurious ini berlokasi di tengah Jakarta. Kemudian kita juga ada Pakubuwono Benteng, kemudian ada Linden at Nava Park yang juga diusung oleh Hong Kong Land dan Sinar Masland. Untuk next slide, please. Kemudian kita juga ada The Fountain Menteng, ada Regent Residence dengan Gaggenau dan Bosch brand. Kemudian next slide, please. Kami juga untuk Bosch sendiri kami juga hadir di The Stature Residence dan kemudian juga di Pondok Indah Residence. Masih banyak sebetulnya proyek-proyek lain di Indonesia yang tidak bisa kami masukkan ke sini karena keterbatasan waktu. So next slide please. Untuk Project Reference Internasional atau di ASEAN lebih tepatnya kami juga hadir di Mount Nicholson yang merupakan proyek yang didesain oleh desainer yang berasal dari London yaitu David Collins. Mount Nicholson ini pada tahun 2017 dianugerahi sebagai residential real estate termahal saat itu. Kita juga hadir di The Vineyard yang masih juga di Hong Kong. Next slide please. Oke, kita juga hadir di Lotte Super Tower di South Korea yang merupakan bangunan tertinggi kedua setelah Burj di Dubai. Dan juga kita hadir di Ritz-Carlton Residence Mahanakhon di Thailand yang bangunannya sendiri telah menjadi landmark dunia dan telah banyak memenangkan penghargaan desain. Next slide please. Kami juga hadir di Melbourne, Australia dan juga di New Zealand. Next slide please. Dan kami juga hadir tentunya di Singapura, di Sky Habitat, dan juga di properti yang bernama Altes di Singapura dengan brand Bosch kami. Next slide please. Kami berhasil mendapatkan endorsement yang sangat baik dari salah seorang bisnis partner kami, Kun Supakon Vejaciva, yang merupakan rekanan bisnis BSH Home Appliances. I believe Denise has personally received this endorsement from him, so I would like invite Denise to say something and also to close the presentation as well. Denise.
So interesting subject with Sansiri. They are obviously a public listed company, and Kun Supakon was very kind enough to give us this endorsement. We've actually supplied to this company for a couple of projects, and with the time market, it's even way before COVID was extremely volatile. They had years where it's either a flood or a drought, it's either a rain or a desert, and we had to work very closely with them in order to realize certain of their projects which they either postponed very heavily. It does happen in some countries, but Thailand I found to be a market that was additionally volatile because they even had cases where the entire project would be not postponed but brought forward to an earlier date. And then as a result, we really had this mad scramble in order to get the products to them half a year earlier than they originally requested. So sometimes things like that do happen. We do try our best to accommodate as much as possible. So they were very happy with the way we handled the entire deal. We have another project for Bosch appliances, and that brings to the topic that a lot of people are interested in. They are keen on instilling smart technology into the building, and we would be introducing some of the first smart ovens into the kitchen of the Anil residence that's in Bangkok. That's slated to be completed in terms of delivery and installation by the end of 2021. So we're quite excited about this.
Okay. Thank you, Denise. I think the
Welcome.
next part is for the video itself. Denise, would you like to say something as well?
So a very interesting topic now. We will dive into the Home Connect topic, and rather than death by PowerPoint slides, I would rather show you a video that explains how people now in certain countries and in future in Asia and countries like Indonesia could possibly live with enhanced smart features into their home, namely our Home Connect app. So rather than spoil the surprise, let's watch the video.
Living in a smart world with smart homes. Everyone is talking about it. So do we at Bosch. But what is a smart home anyway? Does it mean that your home is going to be more independent, or that it's going to make you more independent, helping you to be more relaxed and carefree? Bosch home appliances with Home Connect functions give you completely new ways to control your household. Like a fully automated coffee machine that makes your every wish come true with the tip of your fingers. A fridge that is now always in hand, featuring 2 integrated cameras. Like an oven that you can switch on easily while you're on the move. A washing machine that you can control conveniently just whenever and wherever you want. Or a dishwasher that recommends you the perfect rinsing program and reminds you to unload the dishes or refill rinse aid. We at Bosch think that a real smart home is not about the technology. It's about making your home a little more relaxing. The new Bosch home appliances with Home Connect. Simply connected. Bosch. Invented for life.
I think Denise, hi. This is we have 10 minutes more for the question and ask.
Yes, let's open to the floor, huh?
Yes.
A little bit based on what we've seen and
Because
the
this
videos
is
that you've watched.
yeah, because this is too interesting. Everybody wants to have more actually, but we don't have enough time. So number one, someone was asking about this nice presentation, Dennis. I wondered,
Yes.
how do you see the prospect of smart home adoption in ASEAN, they mean, especially in Indonesia? And also, how do you products help with the developers' sustainability objective? Thank you. That's number one. Can I give you one by one? Or I wanna
yeah, maybe I'll address that question first, and then
okay,
we'll
then
go to the second or
this is the
third
number one.
question.
Yeah, they have
So
we have three
yeah,
question from the audience.
excellent. So I'm very glad to receive your questions, and I will do my best to give you very relevant answers. So the the change of smart living in Asia, I think, fortunately, living in Asia, the thing about Asian consumers, architects, and designers, I think we do have a certain advantage in Asia in the sense that the adaptation speed of our consumers and of our trade partners is extremely fast. The thing about the Asian business mind is time is money to all of
Yes, you're
us.
right.
Every brick that we buy, every piece of stone we lay in our house, in our kitchen, in our organizations, it is about money. Yeah. So are
Yes,
Asians money
absolutely.
minded? Yes, you bet. Yeah, you bet. But it's normal. It's normal. And they look into certain smart features in order to enhance the value of their homes, not just their homes, but I'll give you a crazy example of the country of Vietnam. So, 10 years ago, when I started to enter the Vietnam market, or rather 15 years ago, everyone thought, yeah, BSH, you guys are crazy. You're not going to make a cent. Today, in terms of the bandwidth and the internet speed and the entire infrastructure in the primary cities um, goes faster and deeper and wider than anyone has ever expected. In our company in BSH ASEAN, Vietnam is one of the top performing countries today. So the way that the government and the country has invested in the infrastructure is definitely paying off,
Wow.
not just for companies like us, but things like free Wi-Fi everywhere. The amount of online
Mm.
shopping that has been taking place years before COVID has hit has allowed the country to do business as usual during this pandemic period. So Vietnam is just one example. Um, I do think that there is a high value in smart connectivity for three reasons. Number one, um, it's about making the individual homeowners' lives a lot easier. It's about assurance. It's about safety. Uh, Safety not only in terms of your family members who are in your home, but data protection safety.
Mm.
Um,
You're right.
One of the things that has come up tremendously is you've heard of Zoom phantoms, huh? People who join your Zoom meetings, you see a dark shadow, they are somehow able to penetrate a lot of things, unlock your credit card numbers and things like that. And one of the things that money cannot always buy, money can't buy you time. And with smart connectivity, I think it does save time and effort when you are on the road and you need to check on something and you're not physically at home. Another thing that's hard to buy is security. And
Yep.
security in terms of data protection is really heavily ensured in our Home Connect technology because every app has to go through a certain international check if they are launched globally. And our Home Connect launch was originally launched in Germany, followed by Europe. Singapore was the first Asia test country, and we had to make sure that it was TUV IT Trust certified, which is the most vicious and most, I would say, strict internationally neutral organization that makes sure that your app is really safe. And if you talk about data protection, there is no amount of money that you can actually pay to ensure 100%. There will always be hackers, there will always be data criminals out there,
Yeah.
but we do our very
Same.
best in investing into IT trust. Yeah. Enhancing the value, of course, smart home versus a non-smart home,
Yeah.
with the demands of
Definitely.
ease and convenience and safety and data protection. It is really almost an uncalculated amount in terms of safety and data protection that you can put on your
Mm.
property as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then number second, there was asking about the from the audience.
Yes.
Denise, we are so interested for the new technology. Why so long to have to wait until 2020? Why, Denise?
That's Yes, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that because that question is completely sensible. The Home Connect did start a few years ago in Europe, and I think one of the things that has been going on is to ensure that Home Connect is not just an app on your mobile. There is an entire infrastructure behind it, and to make sure that things are running well, there is a component known as a system master. System master is basically the brain, yeah, and there is no hub in Indonesia. There is no data hub in Singapore. It is an entire system master sitting in Germany that basically keeps all your data and component functioning in that one spot. Because if you can imagine data hubs all over the space, there's a certain exposure, there is a certain risk
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
So that's one reason. And the fact that we are trying to include Home Connect into as many appliances as possible is really quite a job when you have 42 different factories around the world. One of the biggest things, and this is Indonesia specific, is that there is a ton of legalities to go through. And you have certain requirements. All countries have trademark registration requirements. That's not our biggest problem in Indonesia. When you have radio frequency and data protection laws, yeah, one of the things we have to go through is really making sure that the uh, Home Connect certification and the TÜV IT Trust certificates are properly registered. And it takes time because the agency in Indonesia that demands this um, makes sure that companies like BSH register it one model at a time.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if
you're
we have
right.
100 models in our portfolio, we are actually happy to pay for it and invest in it because our trade partners like yourself and our end consumers would be benefiting from it. The processing time that it takes with any government agency, not just in Indonesia, in Singapore, it also takes time. So having a pretty large portfolio with two brands, um, Bosch has a very specific Home Connect range, and Gaggenau has a range where 70% of the appliances are Home Connect enabled.
Wow.
So it really takes time. The year of
Yeah, yeah.
2021, we also have necessary testing, and that is more or less a regulation due to TUV, IT Trust, where the appliances that are Home Connect enabled have to run in a real Indonesian household for at least 6 months. Yeah,
Oh,
it's kind of a must do. It's not something that we
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
skip, so that we can spot any things like, insufficient bandwidth or slow response times. It's called a response test, and to make sure that it works in the way that an Indonesian person uses the appliances. And then if there are any deviations that need to be fixed, we need to fix them before we actually release thousands of these into the market. So
Oh, okay.
yes, competitors have done it faster in a way. Um, we take a longer time, I do admit. And when it does get launched, everything works. With Bosch
Okay.
and Gaggenau, everything works.
Yeah, they make sense because Indonesia is a huge country, so takes time to do it. And then this is the
Yes.
last but not least is this product also applicable to the reprofit properties, or is it more relevant or dedicated for newly developed ones? So this is for new
It,
development,
great
or
question.
yeah, this is
Super
great question.
question.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for asking that question. It can go into any property so long as that residential or even an office space, an office pantry, a service apartment or hotel has secure Wi-Fi. So you need to have a secure Wi-Fi and security level WPA or WPA2. That WPA would be the minimum security level. Um, it needs to be a password protected network, so not an open network. Um, Also not a hotspot, so not using your friend's mobile or your neighbor's mobile phone or personal hotspot. It needs to be a secure Wi-Fi, and you need a router, any brand of router of international standards, because I don't know why, but I go to lots of friends and consumers' homes, and they like to hide their routers in a cabinet behind the TV. And the correct place for a router, and I think there are lots of builders and architects in this webinar, and we all know that where a Wi-Fi router should be put, it should be put on an open shelf, preferably higher up, because the waves are traveling downward. And if you have an open concept, you probably can rely on that router. If you have an upstairs, you probably need an additional Wi-Fi, either a second router or a mesh, yeah, or Wi-Fi enhancer if you have lots of walls in between. 2.4 gigahertz network frequency for now. We are working behind the scene to ensure that in future it works on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz network frequency as well. So it can go into anyone's house as long as you have those infrastructure.
This is very interesting.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, this is, I was learning a lot about the BHS product then today. Also, okay, thank you, Denise, for the time, and we all appreciate it. And this is
thank you, Ibu Leah.
Actually, we need more time, but the time is already end. And then I want to make a conclusion about the BHS product. BHS product is not only a home appliances product. This is also we can see from the craftsmanship, outstanding design, and neatness of the kitchen equipment is there. And the built-in product, I think this is one of the best for all the designers and maybe for developers to have a good value of if you want to sell or if you want to stay at home. So BHS product is also a friendly, smart appliances. It can be a friend for all of us who love to stay in the kitchen and then cook. And last for this, don't leave home with kitchen without it. I think that's the best solution for everything. Thank you, Denise, for your time. I think.
Thank you very much, Ibu Leah, and also to Ibu Dwi for helping us to organize this.
Okay, thank you. So everyone, I think this is the time for us to say goodbye. And thank you. One more other time, maybe we can meet again in the different situation, and everybody so stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian. Berakhir sudah diskusi kita pada hari ini. Terima kasih banyak kepada para narasumber, Ibu Denise Tan dari BSH Home Appliance. Saya juga sampaikan terima kasih untuk Ibu Leah dari L&D Design yang telah berkenan menjadi moderator pada kesempatan hari ini, dan juga BCI Asia sebagai partner webinar kali ini. Semoga kita semua tetap sehat selalu. Jangan lupa untuk mengunjungi website kami di www.realestateinvestment-indonesia.com. Follow media sosial kami di LinkedIn dengan keyword Real Estate Investment Indonesia untuk mendapatkan informasi mengenai acara ini dan menonton ulang juga sesi webinar kali ini. Akhir kata, saya dan seluruh tim Re-Webinar Series menyampaikan terima kasih kepada Bapak dan Ibu. Mewakili tim Real Estate Investment Indonesia, kami mohon maaf untuk hal yang kurang berkenan. Tetap sehat dan sampai berjumpa di kesempatan selanjutnya. Selamat sore, salam sehat. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, bye-bye everyone.
Thank you everyone, thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Tari.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.